and we will reconvene convention. So, just a quick question, because I have a feeling I know the answer for some. How's everybody feeling this morning? I know I feel fantastic. I don't know, you know. Water did me well last night. So we're going to get right into today's events. We have a lot of resolutions and a lot of information to be sharing today. And we're going to get started, though, with another demonstration from Janet on her clickers, or the electronic voting demonstration is what we're going to be doing with. So, Janet, if you don't mind, thank you much.
All righty, let's try this again, folks. Has everybody got their electronic voting device? AKA clicker. Okay, so we're going to do a test question again. If everybody's got theirs out, push 1A to turn it on. Okay, here's our tester question for today. Our union has looked at using online technology to allow members to vote on things like contract ratifications using their computer or smartphone. Do you support this idea? 1, for absolutely anything to increase participation. 2, no, I think it's better to vote on these things in person. 3, I'm on the fence. Push the right answer. The green light goes on, does not remain on. Everybody vote? Looks like we're done. No, not quite. Ready for the results? Can we show the results? Woohoo! Okay. Anything to increase participation. Well done, gang. Okay. One last tester question. As you know, as of this week, cannabis is now legal. Since many, a little bit of applause. Since many in this room are workplace stewards, do you think this will have an impact on your workplace? 1 for yes, 2, maybe a slight impact, 3, not any more than before it was legalized. Okay, can we post the results? Okay, all right. Okay, I think we're great and ready to go. Again, if you have any difficulties, we have people on the floor to help, and I'll turn it over to the Finance Committee.
Okay, so we're going to move right along to the Finance Committee. I'm going to ask our second Vice President, Doug Troke, and who's the Finance Committee Chair, to give our financial report.
Thank you, Sister Wiggins. So the Finance Committee's mandate or goal in life is to develop financial policies and implement those policies to protect the funds of the MGEU. We also monitor our financial results and report these results to the board and here at convention. Today we will be reviewing the report to the convention, which is in your large binder under the Finance tab. We'll be presenting the audited financial statements, appointing our auditors for the next period between conventions, and we will be providing a budget which will be distributed shortly to everyone in the room. And no, they're not. And we will be reviewing the Finance Committee resolutions after that. So I'd just like to take this moment to introduce the members of the committee. So from Area 1, who is absent, we have Les Siskowski. Area 2 is Glenn Bondurek. Area 3 is Dean Werbisky. Area 4 is Jackie Patton. Area 5 is Shirley Russell. Area 6 is Brenda Beluzek. Area 7 is Gail Major. Area 8 is Jean Nemeth. I'm Doug Troke, I'm the chair. We have a number of staff people. Jean-Guy Bourgeois, the Director of Internal Operations, our Controller, Brent Smith, and we also have 2 staff, Linda Gebhardt and Judith Cruz, who are not in the room right now. I think Linda's out working if you're looking at some of the MGEU wear. So if we look at the report, I'm not going to read it. It's there for your review. As Michelle spoke last night, there are a number of new locals that have joined the MGEU. I've mentioned about what the committee does. One of the main things that we did that was a result of the last convention was the investment policy. We did a comprehensive overhaul on our investment policy, and with an investment fund at over, our defense fund being over $30 million, this is an extremely important area. So we have implemented or developed and implemented a new investment policy, and we are now providing reports to the board. We're having regular meetings with an investment subcommittee. So we're quite proud of that. It was a very big project, and it has come to fruition on that. So we're very happy with that. So I will move and second by committee that we accept the Finance Committee report as presented in your binder.
So the committee has moved and seconded the finance report as provided. Is there any debate or any questions for the committee on the report? Seeing no speakers at the microphone, if you'd take your electronic voting devices, and if you were in favor of accepting the committee's report as presented, please press 1. If you were opposed to the committee's report being accepted, please press 2.
Your microphone's on.
Oops. Still on. Mental note for the rest
And
of
the
us.
votes are in, so we have
at
approved
you,
the
96%.
committee's report by like 96%. Okay.
Now you can breathe.
Oh no, we're still going. The next item that we are going to have our auditors. We have two people here from Book and Partners. We have Kelly Ukrainic and Kent McQueen. Kelly's a partner, and Kent was one of the senior managers on the audit. And I will call Kelly to the podium to present our audited financial statements.
Good morning. I believe you have a copy of the financial statements on some nice blue paper. And I'm going to start on page 1, which is this lovely report. Page 1 of the financial statements is the independent auditor's report. This report is our report to the members of the MGEU. And if we read through the report, and I'm not going to go through it word by word, the report describes management's responsibility, the auditor's responsibility, and the final paragraph is the opinion on the financial statements. We have rendered an unqualified opinion on the financial statements in that we are stating that we believe these financial statements do represent the results of the MGU in accordance with the not-for-profit standards, and they are in accordance with the not-for-profit standards. So that's the report you want to see on a financial statement. And if we flip the page, we have the statement of operations and changes in fund balances. In many organizations, you would have referred to this as an income statement. And I'll refer to the 2 columns on the far right side. And I'll just go over the numbers year by year. Revenues for the current year for membership dues, $23,937,000, comparable to $23,844,000 in the prior period. Interest and dividends, $1,032,000 versus $998,000. And the realized losses on disposal of investments of $53,000 versus $47,000 in the prior period. Overall gross revenues, $24,915,000 versus $24,795,000 in the prior period. The expenses are broken down just below. Operating, and there's further detail on page 10, which I'll go to in a second. Operating expenditures totaled $21,026,000 versus $21,135,000 in the year before. Amortization of the fixed assets of the organization were $398,000 versus $393,000. The defense fund expenditures for the year were $1,301,000 versus $268,000 in the prior period. Severance pay of $233,000 versus $212,000. and donations in the year were $15,000 versus $2,500. Total expenditures were $22,975,000 versus $22,015,000 and $12,000. And just to review the operating expenditures in further detail, if you flip to the very last page of the document, it's called the Schedule of Operating Expenses. Just breaks those operating expenses down a little bit further. At the top of the page are the affiliation expenses broken down between healthcare unions, labor councils, MFL and NUPGI fees, total of $1,372,000 versus $1,345,000. Total member participation services between educational programs, legal fees, convention, organization and travel, honoraria and wage recovery, total of $4,323,000 versus $4,432,000. Staff support expenditures made up of payroll tax, salaries, travel, and workers' compensation of $12,356,000 versus $12,161,000. Operational expenses of computer, insurance, occupancy costs, postage, professional fees, equipment rentals, stationery, and telecommunications of $1,881,000 versus $1,872,000. Public relations expenditures of merchandise and community support, $177,000 versus $193,000. And finally, total communications expenditures of $914,000 versus $1,130,000. That makes up the total we saw on the schedule of, on the statement of operations that we saw previously. I'll flip back now to page 2. So if you look at the excess of revenues over expenses for the year, $1,940,000 versus $2,783,000 in the prior period. There are also unrealized gains and losses to report. Unrealized gains this year to report of $23,000 for total excess of revenue over expenditures of $1,964,000 versus $2,103,000 in the prior period. Your fund balances, or the surpluses of the organization since inception, of $33,634,000. When we add the current year surplus, we have an ending fund balance of $35,598,000. I'll now flip the page to the Statement of Financial Position, also known as a balance sheet. Starting at the top, the assets, cash at July 31st, which is the fiscal year end of the union, is $3,138,000. Investments were $31,718,000. Receivables were $1,640,000. The interfund receivables were $1,955,000. Merchandise inventory was $359,000, and prepaid expenditures of the next fiscal period were $442,000. Total current assets of $39,254,000. The capital assets that remain to be expensed of $2,025,000, and membership in the Union Centre Inc. of $500,000. Total assets of $41,780,000. Your liabilities were comprised of payables and accruals of $4,225,000, and interfund payables $1,955,000, equivalent to the asset you saw above. To that, we add the investment in capital assets of $2,025,000, and this the fund balance total of $33,573,000 from the previous page to balance off the balance sheet. Continuing on to the next page is the statement of cash flows. This is a simple reconciliation of where the cash of the organization came from throughout the year. So we start with the overall excess of revenues over expenditures of $1,964,000. The amortization is a non-cash item that gets added back. The realized and unrealized gains and losses on your investments are adjusted for a total of $2,392,000 of cash. The changes year over year between your receivables, inventory, prepaids, and payables account for consumption of cash of $755,000 for a net increase of $1,636,000. And on your investing activities of the organization, you purchased capital assets of $239,000. You purchased investments of $7,692,000, and you had proceeds when you disposed of investments of $6,478,000. That consumed cash of $1,453,000. So year over year, there was an overall increase in cash of $183,000. Had begun the year with $2,954,000 and ended the year with $3,138,000. The remainder of the financial statements, which begin on page 5, are the notes to the financial statements. So these provide some supplemental information to the financial statement numbers that you'd see on the other schedules and statements that we had looked at. I'm just going to look at the very briefly here. So number 1 is the purpose of the organization. Number 2 describes some of the significant accounting policies of the organization. Note number 3 describes some information regarding the cash in the line of credit. Note number 4 describes the investments, the fair value versus cost, as well as some information regarding the rates of return, as well as some risks that are standard risks that all organizations who participate in any kind of financial transaction will assume. Note 5 describes the receivables. Note 6 provides a breakdown of your capital assets between your original cost and what you've written off for amortization. Note 7 is just a description of the investment in the Union Center, Inc. Note 8 describes the commitments that the organization is required to pay for the next 5-year period for various leases and other items of that nature. Note 9 is a contingency note describing contingency that the board felt was required disclosure to note to the members. Note 10 describes the interfund transfers between the various funds of the organization. Note 11 describes the pension plan details for the period. And that rounds out all of the notes, including the financial statements. And we'll leave the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the floor for the auditor on the audited financial statements? Seeing no questions, moved and seconded by committee that we accept the audited financial statements for the year ended July 31st, 2018.
So the audited statements have been moved and seconded by the committee. Seeing no further discussion, if you'd grab your voting devices, please, and press 1 to accept the audited statements as provided, and press 2 if you are opposed to accepting the statements as provided. And the statements are passed. Okay. Next item.
The next item we have is the appointment of an auditor. At each convention, we appoint our auditor for the period following convention until the next convention. And it is moved and seconded by committee that we reappoint Book & Partners as our auditors for the period following convention until the next convention convenes.
Okay, so that's been moved and seconded by the committee for the reappointment of the auditors. Any debate, any questions on this? Seeing no speakers at the microphone, electronic voting devices, and press 1 to accept the appointment of the auditors, press 2 if you are opposed to appointing the auditors. And that is passed. Okay.
Thank you. The next item that we have on the agenda is the 2019 budget for the year ended July 31st. There was a small glitch in the printing process, and those will be distributed shortly. They were supposed to be in our package. We normally, as part of convention, we table the budget at the beginning of convention because depending on what the results are from the various resolutions, it will change the budget. So at this point in time, the committee would move and second that we table the budget until the end of convention.
Okay, there is no debate on tabling a resolution or a motion, so if you would take your voting devices and press 1 for in favor of tabling, press 2 if you're opposed to tabling the budget. And that is carried.
Thank you. Anyone who does not have a budget on their table by lunchtime, definitely come and see someone at the head table, and we'll make sure that they, if they're not already on your table by lunchtime, then we'll get them to you at or before lunchtime. We will now move on to the finance resolutions in your book. Be nice if there were tabs, but it's the FC series of resolutions.
Page number 45.
Thank you.
And you're starting with FC1?
And we are starting with FC1. FC1, the MGEU will provide a phone or pay a percentage of the elected executive cell phone bill. The committee's recommendation on this is one of rejection. Moved and seconded by committee.
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded by the committee. Is there any speakers who at the microphone? When you are voting on this, or when you're also debating on this, just be reminded as well that you are voting on the committee's recommendation. So in this case, it would be to reject this resolution. Seeing no speakers at the microphone, if you would take your devices, and when you press 1, you're voting in favor of the committee's recommendation to reject. And if you press 2, you are voting and opposed to the committee's recommendation to reject. And that is carried. FC2.
FC2, local WRHA, home care, home support. MGU will increase the reimbursement rate for expenses including but not limiting to meals, per diem, and mileage. It should be reflected as living cost. Committee recommendation is to reject.
Okay, so on FC1, the committee's recommendation is to reject. Is there, and it's been moved and...
It's moved and seconded by committee.
Sorry about that. Moved and seconded by the committee. Is there any discussion on this resolution? I see a speaker at Pro Mic number 1.
Kimberly Lynn, Local 71, Post-Secondary Component Director. I just want people to understand just how well we have it with the MGU for our per diems and mileage rates. I did some checking, and with my employer, 46 cents a kilometer. My overnight is $6.10, and the MGU is $18. My breakfast with my employer is $9, MGU is $12. My lunch is $11.55, MGU is $16. My dinner is $20.60 with my employer and $24 with the MGU. So in total, my employer will give me $47.25 a day to travel. My union will give me $70. I want you to understand how good we have it.
Thank you. Any further speakers or any further discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, FC2, the committee's recommendation is to reject. Please press 1 if you're in favor of the committee's recommendation, and press 2 if you're opposed. And the committee's recommendation is carried. FC3.
FC3, the MGU will increase per diems from 18 to 20 and will increase the private stay from $55 to $65 because they have not been increased for a few years. Committee's recommendation is to reject. It has been moved and seconded by the committee.
So FC3 has been moved and seconded by the committee. I see a speaker heading to the microphone. Delegate on mic 1.
Troke, Second Vice President. Just a point sort of to give some clarification on this. As the sister previously spoke, 18 is a very good amount for the overnight per diem. And just to let everyone know that as of October 1st, excuse me, the private accommodation amount was adjusted to $75 a night. So that has been basically reviewed and adjusted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further speakers on FC3? Seeing none, FC3, the committee's recommendation is 1 to reject. Please press 1 if you're in favor of the recommendation. Please press 2 if you're opposed. And that is carried. FC4.
The MGU will update the child elder care reimbursement to the living wage of $15 per hour, maintaining $150 for maximum for a typical meeting. Because though the MGU child elder reimbursement does fall within the current standards, we as a union support the notion of a living wage, and this should be reflected in all aspects of governance, including reimbursements. Because the MGU should set a new standard. Committee's recommendation to accept, moved and seconded by committee.
Okay, so FC4 has been moved and seconded by the committee. Committee recommendation is to accept. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Seeing no speakers heading to the microphone, the committee's recommendation is 1 of acceptance. Please press 1 if you're in favor of the committee's recommendation, and please press 2 if you're opposed. And that is carried. FC5.
FC5. The MGU will allow for the creation of a fund of up to $2 per member per year from within the local to be used to buy swag for all brothers and sisters who attend local meetings. Because many of the local and area meetings are having low attendance, and this would help drawing members to these meetings. By appreciating the brothers and sisters who attend the local meetings, it will raise activism from within the union. Committee recommendation is to reject.
And it's been moved and seconded?
It has been moved and seconded.
Okay, moved and seconded by the committee. FC5, the committee's recommendation is to reject. And I see a delegate on mic number 3.
Hi, my name's Dylan Ombel. I'm from the corrections component. I put this resolution in an effort to try to draw more people to come out to our local meetings. Attendance isn't very high. I don't think very many people have high attendance when it comes to the local meetings. And we kind of need to offer a carrot to people and show appreciation to them for the effort of coming out and participating and taking that information back to their locals. That's why I am speaking against the committee's recommendation to reject, because I am actually in favor of some money going to each local, so to show appreciation and have people come out to hear what each executive has to say. So please vote to reject the committee's recommendation to reject it. I think I have that right. So Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I recognize the speaker on microphone number 1.
Kimberly Lynn, Assiniboine Community College, Local 71, Post-Secondary Component Director. I am speaking in favor of the committee's recommendation. The resolution says to buy swag for all brothers and sisters who attend. You have to realize we have 44,000 people. That's a lot of money, and I would rather my dues go to pay for my better working conditions, for our legal, for our educationals. I don't want swag. I don't want knickknacks. I want representation, and I want someone to help us get through our problems with our employers. I don't want a little piece of knickknack that's going to sit there and collect dust. I don't want my dues going to that kind of stuff. If you really need to draw people out, there are other ways. Talk to other activists. Go to other meetings. You can get a little bit of swag from the MGU to do draws on occasional meetings, but you can't do it at all meetings, and we can't give it to everybody.
Thank you. Seeing no speakers at a con mic, I recognize speaker microphone number 1.
Jean Nemeth, Local 120, Area 8, and I rise to speak in favor of the recommendation because there are already existing activist gifts in place. We have a number of functions that support activists who come out, and there are items provided for that. It's cost prohibitive. It would add at least $80,000 to our already tight budget. MGU merchandise is available right now for anybody who wishes to purchase it. And per policy 2.5.4.4, area councils are entitled to spend $250 per calendar year to hold an event to help draw members in which they can purchase food, non-alcoholic drinks, and supplies. I recommend that you vote in favor of the committee's recommendation.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this resolution? See if member trying to get to a microphone. I recognize the speaker on con mic 3.
Thank you. Carolyn Crawford, 113 Home Care. I'm just wondering, the last speaker mentioned $80,000 would be an additional cost for this merchandise. What is the cost at this point?
Currently, there is no allotment to the locals, such as the $2 recommendation. So right now, the cost is $0, but we do have promotional items that are available. As the speaker mentioned, there are items that are available for purchase at cost. You know, so you'll see them out at the table out in front. So this would be an additional cost to our budget of, you know, 40,000 members times $2 a member, which would be the 80,000.
Okay, I thought maybe there was something already in place. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further speakers? Seeing no speakers at a pro microphone, I'll recognize the speaker at con mic 3.
Derek Pierce, Milner Ridge Corrections. I speak against this. We have to put this into perspective. $80,000 for this is like one mailing out to all of us. Stop sending out my flyers for my what do you call it, the 5-minute updates and stuff are okay, but we got the coupons and stuff. Stop sending that out, and you'll have your $80,000 in no time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this issue? I see another speaker moving to the microphone. Okay, no speakers at pro mic. I'll recognize con mic 3.
James Alexander, Local 14 Corrections. Just so we're clear, $80,000 is less than 0.5% of the MGU's overall budget, and it's something that we know we need, members coming out to our local meetings. I don't know why that we wouldn't prioritize that for less than 0.5%. So thanks.
Okay. We are going to alternate microphones. We have a speaker at Pro Mic number 1.
Michelle Goronsky, MGU President. I'm going to give a little bit of a history here. There is a reason why locals themselves do not have the accounts. We have the ability to make sure that if anybody does need anything, all they need to do is send in a request, and the Finance Committee does a consideration on it. They follow the Constitution, the bylaws, and they make sure that the budget is intact. When historically, many years ago, when everybody used to have their own accounts, oftentimes those accounts were sitting with monies. The members didn't get any benefit from them. So a decision was made, and I'd have to look to Brother Peter probably for an actual date, but the reasoning that it was decided at a convention that locals would not have their own bank accounts is that we pool all together into one so that all 40,000 members can actually benefit from it. So again, it was created to have the $250 per year for an area council to be able to distribute or to have a function if they chose to do so. And there is always the ability to be able to send in and to request if there's anything further. So I would be in support of this, knowing that at any point in time, a local, an area council, a committee can actually put forward a request at any time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Speaker on Con Mic 3.
Hi there, Bev Smith, Home Care, Local 113. I'm not sure the brother is expecting to have the expensive sweatshirts to give to everybody at a meeting. But what's wrong with these MGU pens to give to our members when we represent them, so they have them on hand and remember who stood there and had their back? So I think we're maybe looking a little deep on what you can buy here today. Little swag, not $65 swag, $50 swag. We're talking about pens, little things, little swag to remember who's got your back.
I just want to clarify for the sister who just sat down, all of that stuff is available. A quick call to the Resource Center and you can have pens sent out.
Then you need to let us know that.
Then we'll have to change that part. But
Okay, I'm going to recognize the speaker on Pro Mic number 1.
Hello. Jen Brown, Local 6113. First time mic person. I don't know if this is a pro or a con or whatever, but I think they should use that money for like a potluck or something, instead of giving out swag and get people to come. They can bring food and stuff. Food always entices people and gets people together and stuff. So that's another idea to use the money for instead of swag.
Okay, I see the speakers on Con Mic 3, but you're second time speaker, so I'm going to go to Pro Mic number 4.
Diana Scholes, Local 410. I would like to call the question.
Okay. The question has been called. We're going to test the floor. It requires a 2/3 majority vote to call the question. So if you are all in favor of calling the question, please press 1 on your device. If you're opposed to calling the question so that we can vote on this resolution and the committee's recommendation, please press 2. We have 80% in favor of calling the question, so we are going to put this resolution to a vote. This is FC5. The committee's recommendation is one of rejection. If you're in favor of the committee's recommendation, please press 1. If you're opposed to the committee's recommendation, please press 2. And the recommendation has been accepted. FC6.
This came from Area Council 2. The MGU will amend policy 4.3.4.9, paragraph 3 to read, 3, wages covered will be regular scheduled hours, including applicable travel time. Because our activists already volunteer many hours in support of our members, because traveling after working a full shift can increase fatigue, which is a known impairment, and other health and safety issues, because the majority of our employers pay for travel time during our work hours, and this is a benefit that we have fought for and won for members in their workplace. Committee's recommendation is one of rejection, moved and seconded by the committee.
So FC6, the committee is recommending rejection. Is there any discussion on this resolution? I recognize the speaker at Pro Mic number 1.
Michelle Goronsky, MGU President, and I'm at a Pro Mic in favor of rejection, but not because I'm in favor of the idea. The resolution from Area 2 is very, very important one. We know that all activists volunteer countless of hours of their own time for the union, and that is recognized. The members who have to travel for union business sacrifice a lot in their personal life and in their family life. I know that. We need to make sure that members are granted appropriate time off for travel time. Absolutely, that cannot be unsaid. We need to make sure that members have enough time off to travel so that they can get to their meetings safe and sound. It should not be within minutes or even within an hour, but there should be enough time that people can travel safely. And I know it's been true that we've had some inconsistencies, and the board has definitely taken a look at this. I mean, the inconsistencies is telling us that's why there's a resolution before us today. I want folks to know, though, that the board took on the issue at the June meeting and the September meeting, and we reviewed the issue. We realized that the written policies have in place already. They already provide for members to receive time off for travel time, already allow for extra travel time to ensure members aren't required to drive in dangerous weather or when they're tired. We already allow extra time when there's extenuating circumstances, and I've never heard of anyone being denied that. We decided that if it was needed to be done, what is needed to be done is to actually provide the staff who authorize the time off with clear direction and guidelines on providing that time off. So we've directed that clear guidelines be drafted. We've reviewed them at our September meeting. We've asked staff directors to meet every component executive and every area council this fall to explain it. And they did start with Area 6, I believe, in September, and it will pick up again after convention. So I do know that Janet, as our Director of Membership, and our second VP are scheduled to go around the province and explain exactly how this is supposed to work. We truly do believe that this is going to clear things up and bring more consistency, and more important, it'll ensure that members get the time off they need to travel for union business. So for these reasons, we didn't believe a change was needed or necessary in a written policy. We'd rather not be tied to something right now. I would rather have us go out, do the review, and then have it come back, and the board will take a look at it and see if it's working, rather than to actually have something tied and set here that could actually limit things to be done. So I rise in favor of rejection only for those points.
Thank you. Any further speakers at the microphone? Seeing no speakers at a con microphone, I'll go to Pro Microphone 4.
Wayne Shacken, Local 416, MGU First Vice President. I'm not going to repeat the things that Sister Goronsky said. She spoke very well to the issue and the work the board has done. I'm going to just talk a little to the past. When I started as an activist, I was always told, you give a little time, we as the MGU will give a little time. Meaning, you know, I got travel time when I was coming into a meeting, and when I was going home, I tried to get home on my own time. Now, no one ever expected if it was going to be a late night that I traveled too late, or if the weather was bad, or if I had dietary issues and I had to stop, that I would be impeded from this. As the sister said, we're looking at this. We don't want anyone to be inconvenienced. We recognize all the hours that all of you give. I bet a lot of you are going to be here at convention on some time off, and we thank you for that. We want to make this work because we don't want our activists to feel that they're giving too much let us know if things aren't working, and we're going to make sure it's fixed, because without you, we don't have a union.
Thank you. Seeing no speakers on a con microphone, I'll recognize pro mic number 1.
Legal Component Director Deb Jamerson, Local 26. I'd like to refer this resolution back to committee to do a study and report back in 2020, if that is when the convention is.
Okay, so there has been a motion to refer. Is there a seconder for that motion to refer? And this is to refer it all the way back to next convention. Can you state your name for me, please? Joe? Okay. Can you actually step to a microphone so that our recording can pick it up for us, please? Sorry.
Area 7, Local 40, Joe Brennan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've had it seconded. It's a motion to refer, so any discussion now is specifically on the motion to refer. No speakers at the microphone. So the motion has been to refer this back to the Finance Committee and to review it and then come back to the next convention with some further information on this resolution. So if you would take your devices, if you were in favor of referring this resolution, please press 1. If you are opposed to referring, please press 2, and make sure that you vote now because you only have 30 seconds to submit your vote. Now we're down to 10. And we have 66% in favor of referring, so the referral has passed. This will be referred back to committee and brought back to the next convention for further information. Okay, moving on to FC7.
FC7. The MGU will change the financial reimbursement for part-time members who have not been scheduled by the employer and missed shifts in a call-in process, because this puts part-time members at disadvantage for making a living and being active in our union. This resolution is covered by FC8.
Okay, so we'll move on to FC8.
The MGU will part-time staff that are scheduled to attend meetings for days they are on call will be reimbursed for shifts that they receive on call for and are not able to take due to these meetings. Not that they be reimbursed for any potential hours, just the ones that they had to refuse due to attending these meetings. Because full-time staff are reimbursed for their shifts, why should a part-time staff have to lose out on hours simply because they are part-time? Committee recommendation was to refer to the Board of Directors. Moved and seconded by the committee.
Okay, so FC8, which covers FC7, has been moved and seconded by committee to refer to the Board of Directors. So any speakers on this would only be speaking on the referral. Seeing no speakers at the microphone, please take your devices. And if you're in favor of the, oh, sorry, I didn't see you come in there. That's okay. And this is to be speaking to the referral. So con mic number 3.
My name is Donovan. Area 7, Local 14. I just had a question as to why it was referred back to the board.
This item was referred back to the board because we have a number of part-time employers across the province, and to implement a rule like this that may have negative effects both within the corrections component in different facilities and within other employers. So in order to have a rule like this or to change this, we need to fully understand how it's going to affect all of the membership.
And I've been corrected by our parliamentarian. We can only speak to the appropriateness of which body the referral is being made to. So if they're speaking at the microphone, it's not whether or not this matter should be referred, but if it should be referred to the Board of Directors or to another committee. So we have a speaker at Con microphone 3. Are you speaking on who the matter should be referred to?
No, I'm not.
Then I would have to rule you out of order, and you can only speak to who the matter is being referred to at this
The
time.
way it's worded is incorrect.
That's
The MGU will.
That's out of order.
What?
Well, and that will be addressed when the board is reviewing that. Okay, any further discussion on where the referral goes to? Okay, seeing none, please take your electronic, oh, sorry.
I just want a point of clarity. If we're talking about this, if we're voting on the referral, if we reject the recommendation that it be referred back to the board, do we then have a conversation about the resolution? Just want to be clear on what it is we're voting on and what's going to happen after that.
Okay, so if you're, according to our parliamentarian, if we reject the referral, then we're back to the original resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Just so that you're clear. So we are voting on the referral of this matter to the Board of Directors for further study. This is FC 8, it covers FC 7 as well. So please take your devices and start voting now. If you are in favor, please press 1. If you are opposed, please press 2. And this is in favor of the referral, committee's recommendation. The committee's recommendation was a referral, and that has been carried. So this will be referred to the Board of Directors. Moving on to FC 9.
The MGU will provide a day off in lieu for attending union business on the member's day off. No, we don't need it because the committee recommendation was to reject this. This resolution covers FC 10 also.
Okay. So FC 9, the committee's recommendation is to reject. This resolution also covers FC 10. Is there any discussion on the committee's recommendation? Make sure I'm giving anybody time that's trying to get to a microphone. Seeing no speakers, please take your devices. We're voting on the committee's recommendation to reject. If you are in favor of the committee's recommendation, please press 1 now, and if you are opposed, please press 2, and make sure that you are doing that now so you get your votes recorded. And that is carried. FC 11.
From local Prairie Mountain Health, Regional Health Authority of Healthcare Support Services Area 2, the MGU will reimburse steward and executive members of the union who are requested to represent members be reimbursed by the union for all mileage occurred for out-of-town trips and paid a $5 per diem for in-town trips. The committee's recommendation is to reject. Moved and seconded by committee.
So FC 11 has been moved and seconded by the committee. The committee's recommendation is to reject. Any speakers at the microphones to discuss this? Seeing no speakers moving to the microphones, please take your devices. If you are in favor of the committee's recommendation on FC 11 to reject, please press 1 now. If you are opposed to the committee's recommendation, please press 2. And the committee's recommendation is carried. FC 12.
that MGU will provide something for MGU members on Christmas or end of the year, or a little something to offer, that is gift cards, fruit baskets, or whatever they can afford. It's our recommendation that we reject, moved and seconded by committee.
So FC 12, the committee's recommendation is to reject. That's been moved and seconded by the committee. Any discussion? Seeing no speakers making their way to the microphone, the committee's recommendation is one to reject. Please take your devices, and if you are in favor of the committee's recommendation on FC 12 to reject, please press 1 now, and if you are opposed to the committee's recommendation, please press 2. Committee's recommendation is carried. FC 13.
The MGU will create 50 more spaces for sisters to attend the women's conference every 2 years, because there's a high volume of applicants hoping to attend that don't get accepted, because there is an increasing interest and demand to participate. The committee's recommendation is to reject. It has been moved and seconded. Thank you.
FC 13, committee's recommendation is to reject, moved and seconded by the committee. Any discussion? Seeing no speakers headed to the microphones, the committee's recommendation is to reject. Please take your voting devices and press 1 if you're in favor of the committee's recommendation to reject on FC 13, and press 2 now if you're opposed to the committee's recommendation. And the committee's recommendation is carried. FC 14.
Young members. The MGU will have the Young Members Committee develop and host a one-day Young Members Workshop to be held biannually, because young members face barriers to participation in the union, because it is important to educate and engage young members. Recommendation is referred to the Board of Directors, moved and seconded by committee.
Okay, so this has been moved and seconded by the committee. The recommendation is to refer. Again, the referral is only debatable as to where we're sending the recommendation. Any speakers on the referral? Seeing no speakers headed to the microphone, please take your devices. FC 14, referral to the Board of Directors is the committee's recommendation. If you're in favor, please press 1 now. If you're opposed, please press 2 now. And the committee's recommendation has been carried. FC 15.
The MGU will not consider pre-retirement payment as all earnings paid to calculate the amount of union dues owed, the severance package pay. A recommendation is to reject. It's moved and seconded by committee.
So FC 15, committee's recommendation is to reject. It's been moved and seconded by the committee. Any discussion on the committee's recommendation? Seeing no speakers at the microphones, please take your devices. The committee's recommendation on FC 15 is to reject. Please press 1 if you're in favor of the committee's recommendation. Please press 2 now if you're opposed to the committee's recommendation. And the committee's recommendation is carried. FC 16.
Local Southern EMS, Area 5. The MGU will discontinue the practice of donating monies to non-union, directly related causes. Committee recommendation is to refer to the Board of Directors. This has been moved and seconded by the committee.
Okay, so FC 16 referred to the Board of Directors. It's been moved and seconded by the committee. Any discussion on the referral? Seeing no speakers headed to the microphones, please take your devices. FC 16, referral to the Board of Directors is the recommendation. If you're in favor of the referral to the Board of Directors, please press 1 now. If you're opposed to the referral, please press 2 now. There's some technical difficulties. We need to revote? Yeah. Okay, apparently we had technical difficulties on that vote, so please take your devices to hand again. We'll need to revote on that one.
Point
So,
of privilege, can I just ask something?
microphone number 1, I'll recognize the speaker.
I thought I was getting up when, well, we were still having technical difficulties, but I had a couple of people ask me if they have an opinion on this, can they send a letter to the board? Is that the way to get their voice heard on
Yes,
this
that would be
recommendation?
one of the ways to get their voice heard, or talk to your component director, your area director, whoever is representing your component or local on the board. Make sure that they have the information that you'd like to share with them. And send a letter to the president as well to make sure that your voice is heard on this issue. Okay, so we're going to re-vote on FC 16 on the referral to the Board of Directors. So please press 1 now if you're in favor of the referral, and please press now if you are opposed to the referral. Looks like it's working this time. And the referral is carried. FC 17.
The MGU will increase strike pay to $400 per week. Committee recommendation is to reject, moved and seconded by the committee.
Okay, so on FC 17, the committee's recommendation is 1 to reject. It's been moved and seconded by the committee. I see a speaker heading to the microphone.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll recognize the speaker on microphone 1.
Kimberly Lynn, post-secondary component, Area 3, Local 71. I just want people to think this through. We're really pushing, most unions are pushing for the $15 minimum hour wage. So this reflects, we currently pay $300 strike pay per week for 20 hours of walking the picket line. That is $15 per hour. So we're already doing what we propose is what should be the norm Canada-wide. So I think we're spreading ourselves too thin if we're trying to increase much above that, because we have 44,000 members and a number of us are in strike position already, and civil service is coming up right behind us, and you've got the ratification votes going on. We must keep in mind we are the lowest dues paying union in the province, and we want to keep it that way.
Thank you, sister. Okay, seeing no speakers on a con microphone, I'll recognize the speaker on Pro Mic 1.
Troke, second vice president. Just a little bit to add to the sister's comments that we did increase it from 200 to 300. Previously, there was a 1-week waiting period before you would receive strike pay. That has been removed, so you do your 20 hours in the first week and you will receive your strike pay. And the number of 300 was brought about by reviewing the policy and comparing it with all of our NUPGI sister organizations, and the 300 was brought about by reviewing the policy and comparing it with all of our NUPGI sister organizations, and the 300 was brought about by reviewing the policy and comparing it with all of our NUPGI sister organizations, and the 300 was brought about by reviewing the policy and comparing it with all of our NUPGI sister organizations, and the 300 was brought about by reviewing the policy and comparing it with all of our NUPGI sister organizations, and the 300 was brought about by reviewing the policy and comparing it with all of our NUPGI sister organizations, and the 300 was brought about by reviewing the policy and comparing it with all of our NUPGI sister organizations, and the 300 was brought about by reviewing the policy and comparing it with all of our NUPGI sister organizations, and the 300 was brought about by reviewing the policy and comparing it with all of our NUPGI sister organizations, and the 300 was brought about by reviewing the policy and comparing it with all of our NUPGI sister organizations, and the 300 was brought about by reviewing the policy and comparing it with this kind of fell into the average of it, so it is fairly consistent across the country. So I think that I speak in favor of the rejection, and I hope everyone else will too. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers on FC 17? Seeing no other speakers heading to the microphone, FC 17, the committee's recommendation is to reject. Please take your devices and press 1 now if you're in favor of the committee's recommendation, and please press 2 now if you're opposed to the committee's recommendation. And the committee's recommendation is carried. So I'd like to thank you, Doug, and thank you to the entire Finance Committee for your hard work over the past 2 years. I'd also like to thank our dedicated MGU Finance staff members for their contributions as well. And I'll ask the committee to step down. And I'll turn the chair over to our president.
I would ask the Constitution Committee to please step forward. And I'm going to ask the Credentials Committee to be prepared to be stepping up to let us have credentials as soon as we can. And I recognize the sister on the pro mic 1.
Good morning. Larissa, MGU, Local 73, Red River College. Now that we've got the hang of this voting thing, can we lessen the time given for our clickers? I've noticed that over 200 have already voted before the timer has even started.
Thank you for that, Larissa. You know, I will rely on the folks, the technical folks in the back, to see if they can shave off a few seconds then on the. Thank you.
Point of privilege.
Sorry about that, brother. Brother on microphone 1.
Thank you very much. Darcel Lecoq, local area 726. I just want to bring forward a little fundraising issue that my daughter's school's doing that I think is really interesting, just between everything going on. So she's a grade 12 student at Collège Régional Gabriel Leroy out in Ile-des-Chênes, and they are doing a night without shelter.
Oh.
And what they're doing is actually sleeping outside on Halloween night, the class, in cardboard boxes with newspaper for insulation and minimal clothing. And they're going to do the overnight thing and then proceed to Silo Mission the next day to eat toast and have coffee or juice, followed by serving the clients. And then they're going to go to Centre Flavie Laurent, another shelter, and they're going to be doing donations there, sorting through stuff with them. And throughout the day, they're only allowed to drink water, but then it finishes off at supper time. So I've spoken to Terry from the MGU Women's Committee, who's agreed to assist with this, in that we're asking all the delegates who are staying at the hotels to keep any toiletries that they might not be using, and we'll gather them in a box, and I'd be so proud to go bring that to her class on Halloween night to provide to them. And the idea is for them to understand how vulnerable the people are in our city, in our province, who are sleeping outside every day. This is only one night without shelter, but I think that my brothers and sisters here, we can make a big difference, and I would love for you guys to contribute. Thank you.
That is amazing, brother. I have to say that's very commendable for a group of young folks to be willing to do that. Congratulations to them. Okay, I've just been instructed that there will be a box at registration for you, and we will start collecting those donations. And if I remember rightly, I think I might have a couple of boxes for you, brother, so we'll figure out how I can get that to you. All right. Are you ready, Wayne? Awesome. All right, so now I will turn it over to our Constitution Committee. And just a quick reminder, folks, any constitutional change requires 2/3 of the voting delegates, so 66%. To make a constitutional change, but if it is to do a review or to send it back to the board for recommendations or anything, that will require a 50% plus 1. And Brother Wayne.
All right, I'd like to start by introducing my committee. To my right is Umberta Wilner, Area 1 representative. Area 2, Cora Myers, and she replaced Elaine Medill, who retired this past spring. Area 3, Barb Stembuski. Area 4, Diana Schultz. Area 5, Jesse McNeil. Area 6, Melissa Dvorak. Area 7, Grady Hunt. Area 8, Jackie Fitzpatrick can't be with us. She has actually taken a new position and in her employment and is no longer an MGU member. Myself, I'm the chair, Wayne Shacken. Our staff rep, Wes Whiteside. And we'd like to thank past staff rep Andrew McIsaac and Lorraine Clark, who's our legal assistant and who keeps us on track. The report is in your kit. You can follow along. Your Constitution, Bylaw, and Structure Committee met on the dates listed. Our first meeting following the 2016 convention, the committee reviewed all constitutional recommendations that were passed from the committee's report to convention. At subsequent meetings, we worked on a new master index, which will be displayed at the Standing Committee Expo. The Board of Directors was unable to consider resolutions from Convention 2016, which changed the Constitution, as amendments to the Constitution can only be dealt with by convention. Resolutions that affected bylaws and or policy and were not dealt with at Convention 2016 were referred to the Board of Directors.
Good morning. Before I begin, I'd like to bring you greetings from the GWN. That's areas north of 53rd parallel. From Convention 2016, CR number 8 was referred to the incoming Board of Directors as follows. CR-8, Area Council 06. The MGU will establish a collaborative process for locals to join or leave a component, because members have to have a clear understanding of the process, and some local requests have not been dealt with in a transparent and timely manner. The note: does the Constitution, Bylaw, Structure Committee direct the incoming Board of Directors to compile all current practices, policies, and procedures in regard to a local joining or leaving a component. The Board of Directors, in consultation with the incoming Constitution, Bylaw, and Structure Committee, will develop a clear and concise documented process.
Oh, page.
Page 2, top of page 2.
It's.
This is from last convention.
It's in your binder.
It's. I don't know if they've all got binders. I believe so. It should be in the bag. I hope it's the constitutional report.
Yep.
In the convention book. Thank you very much, sister. Does anybody have the book?
The ones that didn't get dealt with, they have to start passing.
This would be the book that you'd be looking into.
This one, right?
Yeah. Should have it in your bag.
We're all in this book here now?
No.
Towards the back.
What page? What page?
Yeah.
We don't have individual pages that have the Constitution report.
It is in the 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe it is the 4th green sheet right behind it. Note to self, next convention, tabs on the books. Yep. All
Are
right.
we all there now?
Everybody's there? We're okay to go?
Right on.
Thank
Good
you.
for you.
Thank you for letting us know.
Way to go, buddy. He's got a good set. All right, I'll start it all over again, or should I just continue? Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. So anyway, I read the note and what the decision was, and I'll read it again just so people are clear. The Constitution, Bylaw, and Structure Committee direct the incoming Board of Directors after this convention that's coming to compile all current practices, policies, and procedures in regard to a local joining or leaving a component. The Board of Directors, and again in consultation with the incoming Constitution, Bylaw, and Structure Committee after convention, will develop a clear and concise documented process. The Board of Directors reviewed the resolution, and the new wording was added to Policy 2.5.5.1 to clarify the process of a component changing its composition.
The following changes being recommended by the committee will be voted on individually. From Convention 2016, CR-14 was referred to the incoming Board of Directors. CR-14 Area Council 07. The MGEU will add Bylaw B6.3 to recognize the Risk and Strategy Committee of the Board of Directors. Committee meetings to coincide with regularly scheduled Board of Directors meetings as per the terms of reference. Because we recognize that this committee will have increasing impact on direction and planning and needs to be more formal. The Board of Directors reviewed the resolution. Their recommendation was to add Bylaw B6.3 as follows. B6.3, the Risk and Strategy Committee. B6.3.1 is comprised of 6 board members selected by the provincial officers, and in addition will include the union president to serve as chair. B6.3.2 has a staff director assigned to support the committee as designated by the union president. B6.3.3 will meet at least 6 times per year prior to regularly scheduled Board of Directors meetings. The committee's recommendation is one of accept on the addition of Article B6.3.
From Convention 2016, CR-21 was referred...
You ready for the vote? Okay. It's been moved and seconded.
The motion has been approved and seconded, moved and seconded.
Thank you. Motion's been moved and seconded by committee. All those in favor, again, your electronic voting device, 1 in favor of the committee's recommendation, and 2 if you're opposed. That has been passed. Thank you. Carried.
From Convention 2016, CR-21 was referred to the incoming Board of Directors. CR-21, Component Exec Post-Secondary Education. The MGU will add to B12(1)F under Director's duties to bring it in line with other executive duties by adding serve on area council, attending their meeting, bring component issues. Because there are component directors that are not attending their area council meetings, questions arise, and to be a board member, you must sit on your executive. This is part of their duties as a president or chief steward or vice president. The Board of Directors reviewed the resolution. Their recommendation was to add Bylaw B12(1)F as follows. Serve on their area council, attend their meetings, and bring forward their component issues. The committee's recommendation is one of accept on the addition of Article B12(1)F. The committee has moved and seconded this resolution.
Moved and seconded by committee, and I've just been reminded by our brother Wayne that bylaws are a 50% plus 1. So moved and seconded by committee, the recommendation to accept. If you're in favor, press 1. If you're opposed, press 2 now. That is carried. Thank you. Back to committee.
From Convention 2016, CR 25 was referred to the incoming Board of Directors. CR 25, Component Executive, Post-Secondary Education. The MGEU will revise the bylaws to include the following to be added. B16.3b, that the Vice Chairperson takes the minutes. The Board of Directors reviewed the resolution. Their recommendation was to add bylaw B16.3b as follows. B16.3b, that the Vice Chairperson take the minutes. The committee recommends a friendly amendment for clarity as follows. B16.3b, take the minutes of the Area Council meeting and ensure they are filed for distribution. See Article 35.1. The committee's recommendation is one of accept on the addition of Article B16.3b. And this has been moved and seconded by the committee.
Moved and seconded by committee. All those in favor of the committee's recommendation to accept, press 1. Any opposed, press 2. That has been carried. Thank you very much. Back to committee.
From Convention 2016, CR 26 was referred to the incoming Board of Directors. CR 26, Component Executive, Post-Secondary Education. The MGU will revise the bylaws to include the following to be added as B711. At their first meeting following biannual convention, each standing committee will elect a vice chairperson. The vice chairperson will chair meetings in the absence of the chairperson and take the minutes of the standing committee meeting when not acting as chairperson. The Board of Directors reviewed the resolution. The recommendation was to add bylaw B711 as follows. B711. At their first meeting following biannual convention, each standing committee will elect a vice chairperson. The vice chairperson will chair meetings in the absence of the chairperson and take the minutes of the standing committee meeting when not acting as the chairperson. The committee's recommendation is one of accept on the addition of Article B711. Moved and seconded.
It's been moved and seconded by committee to accept the resolution. All those in favor of the committee's recommendation to accept, press 1 now. Any opposed, press 2. It has been carried. Thank you. Back to committee.
From Convention 2016, CR 37 was referred to the incoming Board of Directors. CR 37, Standing Committee, Equality and Human Rights. The MGU will add bylaw B7910, new, participates in community events in the equity-seeking groups. See Policy Manual. Because important to show visible, consistent, and meaningful support to all members and all Manitobans. The Board of Directors reviewed the resolution. Their recommendation was to add bylaw B7910 as follows. B7910 participates in community events in the equity-seeking groups. The committee recommends a friendly amendment for clarity as follows. B7910 participates in community events as related to the identified equity-seeking groups. The committee's recommendation is one of accept on the addition of Article B7910, and this has been moved and seconded.
It has been moved and seconded by committee for the recommendation to accept the friendly amendment. All those in favor of accepting the committee's recommendation, press 1. All those opposed, press 2. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Back to committee.
renumbering and clarification. It is the committee's opinion that the following changes do not affect the intent of the article, but are being recommended to provide clarification and to ensure consistency throughout the Constitution and bylaws. The committee recommends the following changes. The committee recommends that Article 6 be amended by deleting Article 6(9), as there are no longer life memberships. The committee recommends that the title to Article 11 be amended by removing the words "or appointment." New article name, Election of Provincial Officers. The committee recommends that Article 12(1) be amended by replacing the words "his" or "her" with the word "their." New 12(1) to replace current 12(1). If the office of the President becomes vacant, the first Vice President will take over the Union President's duties and responsibilities while keeping their own.
The committee recommends that Article 12(3) be amended as follows. New 12(3) to replace current 12(3). When a member of the board takes office under Articles 12(1) and 12(2), they will hold office until the next biennial convention. The committee recommends that Article 15(1) be amended by replacing the words "central office" with the words "union headquarters." New 15(1) to replace current 15(1). Unless otherwise stated, Bernot's Rules of Orders will be followed. These are on file in the union headquarters. Under no circumstances will the union president or a committee chairperson cast more than one vote on any one question. The committee recommends that Article 16(2) be amended by inserting the word "union" before the word "president." New 16(2) to replace current 16(2). The union president must give a minimum of 30 days notice of the time and place of any convention to all provincial officers, elected delegates, and honorary life members.
The committee recommends that Article 16(4) 2B be amended by replacing the words "for example" with the words as follows. New 16(4) 2B to replace current 16(4) 2B. Each local can send one delegate for its first 100 members. It can send one more delegate for each additional 100 members or a major portion thereof, as follows. 1 to 150 members, 1 delegate. 151 to 250 members, 2 delegates. 251 to 350 members, 3 delegates. 351 to 450 members, 4 delegates. 451 to 550 members, 5 delegates, etc. The committee recommends that the title to Article 17 be amended by removing the words "and appointment." New article name, Election of Delegates. The committee further recommends that the definition of poll vote be inserted in the left-hand margin at article number 19(4). Poll vote, a formal count of voting delegates. The committee further also recommends that Articles 24(1)(1) be amended by replacing the word "through" THRU with the word "through" properly spelled. New 24(1)(1) to replace current 24(1)(1). Areas 1 through 5 and 8 have geographical boundaries. The committee's recommendation is one of acceptance on all the housekeeping changes to the Constitution as noted on page 4 to this point. It's been moved and seconded by committee, and because it's a constitutional change, it will require a 2/3 majority vote.
Thank you for that, brother. So moved and seconded by committee, and again, 2/3 vote. All those in favor of the committee's... Oh, speaker on microphone.
Hi, Carol Reimer.
Can you bring your microphone down a little bit, Carol, for us? Thank you.
I'm too short.
That's it.
Carol Reimer, Local 69, Post-Secondary Education. I just have a question or point of clarity. On page 4, it says that there's no longer life memberships, but on page 5, 16(2), it says honorary life members. Is that just a mistake, or am I not understanding this?
Previously, there was a policy around life memberships, which was different than honorary life members. We've now done away with the life memberships, but the Constitution had not reflected that. Our policies had reflected that, but our Constitution had not. So that's why we're just trying to bring things up to date.
Okay.
It does not change our current honorary life members.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for that, sister. Speaker on microphone 3.
Hello, I'm Jill Bristow, Local 113. I just want some clarification. It says here each local can send one delegate for its first 100 members, but then when it's laid out it says 1 to 150. So should that not read 1 to 100, or why is there a difference there?
I can explain that, if
Yes,
Madam Chair.
absolutely, please.
So it says it can send for your first 100, and then after that, it's the major portion thereof. So if you have 100 or less, you get one delegate, everyone. Whether you have 4 members in your local or 99, you get that one delegate. After that, it's when you have more than 50% of 100 delegates. So every major portion of the next 100. So that means you have to have 50 more members to get that, more than 50 members to get a second delegate. So that's why the number ends up being, you'll still only get that one delegate for the 1 to 150. And after 150, once you have 151, you've got a major portion of that second 100. I had to read it twice also. So I know that there's more than just you in this room that were wondering the same thing. So thank you for asking.
Seeing no speakers at the mics, it has been moved and seconded by committee to accept recommendation. All those in favor of accepting the recommendation, press 1 now. Those opposed, please press 2. That is carried. Thank you very much. Back to committee.
The following recommendations are being put forth by the committee. The committee recommends that the first bullet in Article 26.4 be amended as follows: a component director with 500 members or more. The committee's recommendation is one of accept on the amendment to Article 26.4. The committee has motioned and seconded.
Moved and seconded, right? Moved and seconded by committee. All those in favor of the committee's recommendation, press 1. Any opposed, press 2. That has been accepted. Back to committee.
In order to allow for electronic voting during convention elections, the committee recommends the following: that the definition of ballot in Article 11 be amended as follows: ballot, a device used to cast votes, electronic or paper. That the second bullet in Article 11.1 be amended as follows: by electronic ballot, and that Article 19.3 be amended as follows: 19.3, elections will be voted on by electronic means with paper ballots used if electronic voting is not available. The committee's recommendation is one of accept on the amendments to Articles 11.1 and 19.3. The recommendation has been motioned and seconded.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded by committee to accept recommendation. Seeing no speakers going to mics, no. All those in favor of the committee's recommendation, please pick up your clicker and press 1. Those that are opposed, please press 2. That is carried. Thank you. And I have to say, this is a whole lot easier than trying to make sure I got the right number of hands out there. And back to committee.
The committee recommends that a new Article 15 be added to the Constitution, and that all subsequent articles, including the former Article 15, Rules of Procedure, be renumbered. Amendments to the Policy and Procedures Manual, 15.1. All changes to the Policy and Procedures Manual shall be approved by the Board of Directors by motion and majority vote. The committee's recommendation is one of accept on the addition of Article 15.1. This has been moved and seconded by the committee.
So again, moved and seconded by committee. Recommendation to accept. Seeing no speakers to the mics. All those in favor of the committee's recommendation to accept, press 1. Those opposed, please press 2. That is carried. Back to committee.
To allow for all resolutions to be voted on electronically during convention, the committee recommends that Article 19.5 be amended as follows. 19.5. At MGU convention, voting on all resolutions shall follow the same format as 19.2a. The committee's recommendation is one of accept on the amendment to Article 19.5. The committee has made a motion and seconded this.
Thank you. Moved and seconded again by committee to accept the recommendation. All those in favor of accepting the committee's recommendation, please press 1. Those opposed, please press 2. And that is carried. Thank you so much. Back to committee.
To ensure component representation on the Civil Service Agreement Bargaining Committee, even if there is no component director, the committee recommends adding Article B615 as follows. B615, if a component does not qualify for a component director, the component executive shall elect a member from the component executive to represent the component on the Civil Service Agreement Bargaining Committee. The committee's recommendation is one of accept on the addition of Article B615, and that has been moved and seconded by the committee.
And again, a reminder, it is a bylaw, so it's a 50% plus 1. It has been moved and seconded by committee. All those in favor of the committee's recommendation to accept, please pick up your clickers and press 1. Those opposed, please press 2. That is carried, and I have to tell you, the urge to go B32 while I'm up here is something. The silence in the room is amazing. Back to committee, please.
If you say B32, you clearly don't know bingo.
The current position of workplace representative is not...
Push your button.
He's on.
Okay. The current position of workplace representative is not used by locals and MGU. A position of workplace liaison would be for communication purposes at work locations where there is not a steward in place. To accomplish this, the committee recommends the following changes. That the current Article 31.1 be replaced with the following. Workplace liaison. 31.1. Locals are allowed one workplace liaison at each work location where it does not have a steward in place. The workplace liaison is a member of the local. The workplace liaison will be elected for a 2-year term by the members at the work location after the September election in a convention year. 31.2. A workplace liaison may be appointed by the local executive if members in a work location do not elect a workplace liaison as allowed for in Article 31.1 of the Constitution.
That Article 32.11 be amended as follows. 32.11, local executive committees are made up of a president, a chief steward, and or a vice president, and members at large. That Article B19.2 be amended by adding a new B19.2C and renumbering the subsequent articles in B19.2. B19.2C, coordinate activities of the workplace liaison within the local. That Article B22.2G be amended as follows. B22 to G, inform the chief steward of the local and union headquarters when elections have taken place. See Articles 30 and 31 of the Constitution.
That a new Article B23 be added and the subsequent bylaws be renumbered. Duties of Workplace Liaison, B23(1), Workplace Liaisons will distribute information from the union headquarters and the local to the affected workplace members. Inform the chief steward about workplace matters that may affect members' rights or welfare. Moved and seconded.
So there's been moved and seconded, recommendation to accept by committee. And again, constitutional change, 2/3 vote. And thank you. Speaker on mic 2. That's what I was looking for. I thought he was over there.
Hi, my name is Kurt Carr from Local 421 Prairie Mountain Health. I'm just wondering kind of if that workplace liaison position is going to kind of muddy the waters of a steward, because it's basically the role of a steward, and I think that's what the liaison is. If we're going to get rid of the workplace representative, we just need to get rid of it.
Okay. Thank you, brother. Seeing no further speakers on the mic, committee's recommendation is to accept. 2/3 vote again. There's constitutional changes in here. All those in favor of the committee's recommendation to accept, please press 1. Those opposed, please press 2. That is carried. Thank you. All right, back to committee.
All right, we extend a special thank you to Andrew McIsaac, Wes Whiteside, Lorraine Clark, and Andrea Martin for their patience, guidance, and assistance over the past 2 years. And the committee will now move on to constitutional resolutions, which is on page 2 of your resolutions book. So back to the big book.
This book?
Okay, I'll start the first one off. Give everyone some time to get to their resolution book. Do you have a cheat sheet? Okay, all right.
You'll let me know. All right. Everyone ready? We are back to committee, please, Brother Wayne.
Okay. CR1. The MGU will amend 26(1)(2) of the Constitution to increase the cap of 3 members at large to 5, as well editing 26(1)(3) to follow the pattern already used for number of members allowed. Committee's recommendation is to reject. Current system provides balanced representation from across the component.
Okay, thank you for that, brother. It moved and seconded by committee.
Thank you. Moved and seconded by committee.
Thank you. Seeing a brother on mic 3.
Hi, my name's Dylan Omdahl. I'm out of the corrections component. This came from our component. Well, it came from our area, but it was our component member that put this forward. It's not about balance representation, it's about proportional representation. We're all brothers and sisters in this room. We're all for each other. There's no dividing lines, as some people may want you to believe. But in an effort to try to alleviate those fears, if some want to make it about balance, then I will tell you that there are 11 locals affected, 22 additional members at large that will be added to each executive. Administration would get 2 more, clerical would get 2 more, community supports would get 2 more, community-based social services would get 1 more, Golico would get 2, healthcare support services would get 4 in total. And I would note all 4 of those would be rurally for people who want to say that it is about balance. MPI would get 2, post-secondary would get 2 as well. I find it hard that when a local has 2,000 members and various work locations across wherever it is they are, whatever city they're from, that 2,000 people are only represented by 6, where they could have dozens of work locations. And it is about proportional representation. It is not about balance. More people on an executive that your local membership can go to, that they trust, and that they know that they have been able to vote in and have them represent them on an executive to bring their issues to the executive and know that it's being heard, is a good thing. We're talking about 22 more members at large for all of our different locals and executives. So thank you.
Just a note to that, brother, just a clarification, because I have a feeling people are going to head to the mics. Stewards are also representatives of everyone in workplaces. You can have 1 steward for every 50 members. So just to make sure that that's recognized as well. We do not, we want to value our stewards and make sure that they're recognized. Can you go to a mic, brother? I'm sorry. I have a sister on microphone 1, please. Kim.
Kimberly Lynn, Area 3 Post-Secondary Component Director. I'm so sorry. I stand in favor of this recommendation. You've got to keep in mind that in some components, such as my own post-secondary component, we have 8 different workplaces represented, and one of our workplaces is huge. And I love you, Red River, but in all honesty, at our current table of 16 people, they hold 6 of the seats, which is 33%, or 38%, sorry, of the votes, which is great. It keeps it fairly reasonable. But if we were to change this, we would then have 18 seats. They would have 8 of the 18, which brings them up to 44%. So if they really wanted to control our room, they could. Not that they would, because we work well together. I'm not taking a shot at them. But the reality is, because the rest of us are so small and they are so large, they would command the room. And I appreciate the fact that we work together well now and that we share all the duties, but it's not necessarily going to happen with everybody. So we need to remember that this was set up so that everybody, whether you're a unit of 50 or a unit of 5,000, you're reasonably represented.
Thank you, sister. I have a brother on microphone 3.
James Alexander, Local 14, Corrections as well. I'm the one that put this resolution forward. It started off originally as I wanted total proportional representation. Originally, I put it forward and I amended it to make it just a maximum of 5. I wanted it to follow the delegate schedule, so 150, 250, 350, so on and so forth. It became quickly apparent that that wasn't realistic. There'd be far too many people attending component. But that doesn't change the fact that we need more members speaking out. We need more representation at the component level. And not having a diversity of voice at the component. Some components have 6 or 7, 8, 9 work locations under one local. And that means there's less representation from those areas. So anything we can do to try and bridge that gap should be done. And we hear about not being able to work together. When the sister just spoke to, she wouldn't be worried about Red River doing that. So if you're not worried about it, then why wouldn't we get more voices at the table? So I'd ask that you please vote against the committee's recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you, brother. Nope. Okay. Seeing no further speakers to the mics, committee's recommendation, moved and seconded by committee, is to reject. All those in favor of the committee's recommendation, please press 1. Those opposed, please press 2. All right. So we have our first rejection of a rejection. So I am going to charge 44. Oh, okay. By 6. Okay. It's not a 66. 60. Ah. I have been corrected again. Thank you. So it actually has passed. It's been accepted. Just, but it did get passed. So, okay. It has been carried, and I've been told to take note of CR2 closely. So thank you for that. Because it's a rejection, it was 50% plus 1. Okay. Carried.
CR2, Area Council 7. The MGU will review the member-at-large numbers and determine if there is a more representative process that can be used to determine numbers of members at large. Upon completion of the review, any recommendations forthcoming will be presented at the next convention. Committee's recommendation is accept as amended. Moved and seconded by the committee.
Okay, CR2 has been moved and seconded by committee. Brother on mic 1. I thought you might come back.
Yeah. So I'm standing in pro of this. This is also my recommendation. I'm not going to waste all of your time. This was the consolation prize, if you will, for the first one. Basically, what we want is we want an overhaul of the process. We want it looked at. We want the committee to go over it. There's plenty of unions that do other things in this area that we could be doing for diversity of voice. And I mean, that's the main point. We need people speaking out. We need diversity.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for that, and thank you for accepting the consolation prize. I have a brother on microphone 1.
Wayne Shacken, MGU First Vice President, Constitution and Bylaw Chairperson. Just wanted everyone to know that while we recommended rejection for the previous one, we did take note that this needs to be looked at and reviewed. Perhaps an automatic 2 more wasn't the way to do it. We want to look at this, look at all our components, look at our locals, how many does this affect, look at what does this do for balance, because while one group it might be out of balance, another it might be better. What's going to be best for the entire union as a whole? It'll be if this is referred, it'll be looked at, and for next convention, hopefully we'll come up with a solution that meets as many goals and needs that members have as possible.
Thank you very much. No further speakers at the mic. It's been moved and seconded to accept the recommendation. All those in favor of the committee's recommendation, please press 1. Those opposed, please press 2. And this is for a review, so it's 50% plus 1 to pass it. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Back to committee.
CR3, Component Executive Administration. The MGEU will allow the President of the Union to have the authority to appoint a member in agreement with component if exists, or area if no component exists, to be President of a given local. Community recommendation is to reject. The notice proposed resolution as worded would provide the MGEU President carte blanche authority to appoint a local president even when there is no vacancy or quorum concerns. The motion has been moved and seconded by committee.
It has been moved and seconded by committee to reject the recommendation. Seeing no... Oh, sorry. We have a sister on microphone 2. Michelle.
Thank you. Michelle Skibinski, Local 33, Administration, Area 7. We as a component...
Can you speak up just a little bit for us?
Pardon me. We as a component put this in. I just want to give everybody a little bit of a background of what's going on. We have a very poor turnout getting people involved, unfortunately. We have to admit that. We have numerous areas that don't have any representation. Basically, that means our local does not exist in certain areas. I won't start numbering them off because it's pretty sad. That's why we put this forward. We have had a few people that have been interested, but we've call the meetings. We being the union, the MGU has called the meeting, and actually our staff reps would have to call a meeting and hope that enough people show up to get a quorum, to get elected, to be able to have a local. And we want to somehow try to resolve that, and that's why this was put forward. It wasn't so that we could just carte blanche, just start electing people and appointing people or anything like that. I know our component as administration isn't the only component that has this issue. I can say to my sister over at Clerical, we've had many discussions back and forth and texts many a time on, do you know anybody in the area that you can get to come to a meeting so at least we can have quorum so that we can elect someone? We can't. So that's why that was put forward.
Thank you very, very much, sister. All right. Thank you. I have a sister on mic too.
I rise on a point of privilege. Amanda Russell, Social Sciences, Local 46, and I would like to present the credential report for Friday, October 19th, 2018 in the morning. Board and delegates in attendance, 359. Guests and honorary life members, 25. Observers and media, 11. And I so move.
Moved for the credentials report. Do we have a seconder? Sister on mic 1.
Deb Jamerson, Local 26. I move that. I second that.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded by the Credentials Report Committee to accept the report. All those in favor of accepting the credential report, please press 1. Those opposed, please press 2. That is carried. Thank you so very much. And we will return back to CR3, and I recognize a sister on microphone 1.
Kimberly Lynn, Post-Secondary Component Director, Area 3, Local 71. With respect to my sister, I appreciate her quandary that she's in, and I understand her frustration. But the reality is that that is not a democratic way of doing it. The president shouldn't have carte blanche to just appoint somebody. We elect our officials for a reason. And quorum is 3 people. We've got to be able to get 3 people to a meeting to elect somebody. I'm just so disheartened that you're having that issue. And if there's anything I can do to help push people in my area or in my surrounding area, I would drive out there and do that for you. But dear God, no, we can't take the democratic process away and hand it to somebody, with respect to Michelle as well. Like, I'm sorry that it's just, I don't care who the president is at the time. We're removing our democracy, and I don't like that at all, and we should all be afraid of that happening.
Thank you. I recognize the speaker on con mic 3.
Janice Ballard, Area 1. I work 2 different jobs, and in the 2 different jobs, they're both MGEU union. And for our elections, in the one, we had 11 people in total. That's between 2 communities. We had to have our election in one community and then carry it over to the second community 100 miles away to get 11 people at the meeting to do our election. The second job, 2 people at the first meeting, me and the president, and at the second meeting, the same, 2 people. She couldn't even be nominated to stay on as president. We did not have quorum, and that leaves us stuck as to how do you continue on. It gets really hard when people can't get out because of their work schedules.
Thank you, sister. Seeing no speakers at a pro mic, I'll recognize the speaker at con mic 3.
Michelle Goronsky, MGU President, and I would like to refer this to the incoming board. This isn't, about a democracy. This is about being able to have representation. So I refer to the incoming board.
Is there a seconder for that referral?
I'll second that. Deb Jamerson, Legal Local 26.
I guess not.
Okay. We have a mover and a seconder on a referral to the board. Any speakers on where it should be referred to? That's all. Okay. Okay, and 50% plus 1 is required for this referral, so please take your electronic voting devices, as I see no other speakers on the referral. And please press 1 now if you're in favor of the referral to the incoming Board of Directors. Please press 2 if you are opposed to the referral to the incoming Board of Directors. And the referral is carried. Back to committee.
CR4, Local University College of the North, Area 8. The MGU will amend the Constitution to allow the MGU President to directly appoint a local president when attempts have been made to hold a local meeting and the local cannot achieve quorum. The union would have to implement an application process for this to occur. Committee recommendation is of rejection. The local president position should be elected by the members of the local, and if the local is experiencing difficulties in achieving quorum, the MGU should make all necessary inquiries and attempts to engage the membership and to hold meetings at a time and location that would help to achieve quorum. The committee moves and seconds.
Okay, so CR4, the committee's recommendation is to reject, moved and seconded by the committee. I will recognize the speaker on microphone 1.
Again, Michelle Dorrance, MGU President, and again, this is very close to the previous one. I would ask for referral to the incoming Board of Directors for study.
Okay, we have a motion to refer. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
Kurt Henry, Area 8, Board Director. I second that motion.
Okay, Kurt Henry, thank you. So it's been moved and seconded to refer to the Board of Directors. Again, 50% plus 1 vote will be required for a referral. So please take your electronic voting devices, as I see no speakers on the referral. And please press 1 if you're in favor of referring CR4 to the Board of Directors. Press 2 if you're opposed to referring CR4 to the incoming Board of Directors. And the referral has carried. Back to committee.
CR5, Local Prairie Mountain RHA HCSS, Area 2. The MGEU will provide 1 seat on the Board of Directors to each local within a regional health authority that has a membership of 500 or more members. The committee's recommendation is to reject, and the note is that locals can advance their concerns to the board through various existing routes, including via the vice presidents, their respective component director and/or area director. And that has been moved and seconded by the committee.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded by the committee. Recommendation to reject. Not seeing any speakers heading to the mics. All those in favor of accepting the committee's recommendation, please press 1. All those opposed, please press 2. That is carried. Thank you. Back to committee.
Local Prairie Mountain RHA HCSS Area 2. The MGU will provide a seat on the Board of Directors from the members in each standing committee in addition to the chair. The position to be elected by committee standing members. Committee recommendation is one of reject. Note, standing committees all have a chair, which the assigned individual is a member of the board and therefore have representation at the board. This has been moved and seconded.
Moved and seconded by committee. Recommendation of rejection. Seeing no speakers to the mics. If you're in favor of the committee's recommendation, please press 1. If you're opposed to the committee's recommendation, please press 2. That is carried. Thank you much. Back to committee.
Local Prairie Mountain HCSS Area 3. the MGU will create the local executive position of area representative, allowing locals who have over 500 members and cover a wide geographical area or apply in writing to the board for consideration to have up to 2 area representatives on their local executive. Could adapt current language used for workplace representative. An area representative will already be a steward. The local executive would decide the geographical boundary that the area representative would represent. For example, north of Brandon for one and south of Brandon for another. Stewards of that geographical area would vote amongst that pool an area representative. The committee's recommendation is to reject. Note, under the current formula, larger locals, depending on their membership size, are entitled to have members-at-large positions on their local executive, in addition to the local president, chief steward, and vice president's positions. Steward positions are also available for each work location that bring the concerns of their respective work locations to the attention of their local executive, and the chief steward's primary duties include coordinating activities and communication with the stewards within the local. It's been moved and seconded.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded by committee. Thank you. And I'm recognizing the brother on mic 2.
Kirk Carr, Local 421 Prairie Mountain Health. I'm rising to speak against the committee's recommendation. We are a local of 2,620 Prairie Mountain Health, MHCSS. We need more people at our executive table and who bring to our table a rural perspective. Yes, we have our stewards, our chief stewards, and we have amazing steward meetings, but when we're having our executive meetings, we need to have that rural, we need the rural, I'm losing my words, representation, thank you. At there. So I'm asking and begging you guys, unless you're 100% against this, please vote against the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. It's been moved and seconded. We have a brother on microphone 3.
Sorry. James Alexander, Local 14 Corrections. What the brother just said, there's no reason that we couldn't also look and tying that process into the new member-at-large changes, finding some solution that accommodates everybody. So maybe instead of rejecting, we could refer to the board under the same heading.
Are you making that referral, brother?
I am.
You are. Do we have a seconder for the referral for the incoming board to be taking a look? I need someone to get to a mic for me. There we are.
Marlene Hrechka, I second that.
Thank you. There's a referral moved and seconded to refer to the incoming board to do a study and take a look at it. All those in favor of the referral? Oh, sorry. Are you speaking on the referral? Only on the referral.
So only on the referral. I ask that it be that we vote no on the referral, that we keep it at the table. I need these now.
Okay. Sorry, brother. I won't rule you out of order, but all those in favor of the recommendation for referral back to the incoming board for study, please press 1. Those opposed, please press 2. That is carried. And Brother Kirk, I do hear you, I understand, and I feel it. So we'll take a good look at things, not to worry. All right. Back to committee, please.
CR8, Local WRHA Home Care, Home Support. The MGU will make the necessary changes to the MGU policy and constitution and bylaws, that MGU members must be a steward and a member in good standing in order to sit on a standing committee. Committee's recommendation is of reject, and the note, standing committee members are democratically elected by each respective area council, wherein there are often active members who are not stewards due to a variety of reasons. Example, restrictions on the numbers of stewards per work location, and the proposed resolution would place an unnecessary restriction on who can run and be considered for such positions. Moved and seconded.
It's been moved and seconded by the committee for a recommendation to reject. Seeing no speakers to the mics, all those in favor of the committee's recommendation, please press 1. All those opposed, please press 2. That is carried. Thank you. Back to committee.
CR9. The MGU will change 2457 of the Constitution and bylaws to remove Women's Correctional Centre and the Headingley Correctional Centre from within Area 7, thus returning both correctional centres to Area 4. The Winnipeg area will be made up of 2 area councils. The locals will be assigned to an area by the Board of Directors. Area 6 Council will be comprised of, but not limited to, Health and Social Services related locals. Area 7 Council will be comprised of, but not limited to, civil service, government agencies, crown corporations, colleges, and universities. The 2 area directors will be elected from only those locals in their respective areas. This area includes the Women's Correctional Centre and Headingley Correctional Centre within Area 7. That's what would be being changed. The recommendation from committee is to refer to the Board of Directors. Note, to conduct a full consultation with members of all locals and components directly affected by the proposed change, and for a review of the implications associated with that change, including financial and staffing requirements. The committee moves and seconds.
It has been moved and seconded, and I note a brother on microphone 1.
Hi,
to the referral, right, brother?
Yes.
Thank you.
My name is Dylan Omdahl. I am also the component director for corrections. I am also the local president. I work out of the Women's Correctional Center. And we are accepting of the board's recommendation for this to get referred back to the board. As everyone has heard, we do have some issues that we want to work through, but we do want to work through them properly, and we do feel this is appropriate. So please vote in favor of the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Seeing no other speakers at the mics, and I know it's getting close to lunchtime, folks, but let's do as many as we can. So please pick up your clickers. And 1 for acceptance of the committee's recommendation to refer it to the incoming board. 2 if you're opposed. And that is carried. Thank you so much. Back to committee. We're going to keep going. We got a ways. We got a little ways to go, brother.
I tried. Anyway, CR10. It's legal area 7. The MGU will amend Article B 712(1) of the bylaws, of the Constitution bylaws, by deleting, whenever possible, the committee chairperson will adhere to B 712(2) and replace with the following. When no board member meets the criteria of being aged 35 years or younger and when willing to serve as the chair, the chairperson will be elected from within the committee. In addition, a board member will be elected to act as liaison for this committee to the board. Committee's recommendation with the note: when there is a board member who meets the criteria and willing to serve as a committee chairperson, that board member should be the chairperson. The committee's recommendation to accept as amended has been moved and carried. Seconded, pardon me.
Moved and seconded. What's good, isn't it? Moved and seconded by committee. A recommendation to accept as amended. Seeing no speakers to the mics. All those in favor of the committee's recommendation to accept, please press 1. Those opposed to the committee's recommendation to accept, please press 2. And that is carried. Thank you so much. Back to committee.
CR 11, Standing Committee Young Members. The MGU will create a Young Member Board of Directors position that would chair the Young Members Committee and would be elected at MGU's convention at the Young Members Luncheon. Those letting their names stand for the position would need to meet the Young Members Committee criteria of being 35 years or younger, as would those casting a vote. For this term only, 2018 to 2020, the election for this position will be held at the first Young Members Committee meeting of the term. committee recommendation is to reject. The note is the Young Members Committee has a board member elected to and works closely with the committee and represents their interests at the board. Furthermore, the proposed resolution increases the current board size and complement, and if passed, leads to other standing committees not having similar representation on the board. This motion has been motioned and seconded by the committee.
So it's been moved and seconded. Committee recommendation of rejection. Seeing no speakers at the mics, all those in favor of the committee's recommendation to reject, press 1. Any opposed, please press 2. And that is carried. Thank you. Back to committee.
CR 12, Local Prairie Mountain, Area 3. The MGU will change bylaw 24.4 of the bylaws to allow both the nominator and the nominee to be able to give a speech if wanted. Suggested language is B24.4. The nominator and or nominee for each position can make a speech of up to 2 minutes outlining the nominee's qualifications and service. The committee's recommendation is to accept. This has been moved and seconded by the committee.
It has been moved and seconded by committee to accept the change to the bylaw, so that's only 50% plus 1. And if you're in favor of the committee's recommendation to accept, please press 1. If you're opposed, please press 2. And that is carried. Thank you so much. Back to committee, and I think maybe just to get a little excitement going, a little tap dance.
Oh, sorry.
What's more exciting? Well, we just got one that got accepted, so hey, we're moving along. All right, back to committee.
CR 13, Local Interlake Eastern Community Support Area 5. The MGEU will remain a non-partisan union, and the committee's recommendation is to accept, and that has been moved and seconded.
It's been moved and seconded by committee. It would take 50% plus 1 because this is just reaffirming what is already in the current language in the Constitution. So if you're in favor of the committee's recommendation to accept, please press 1. If you're opposed, please press 2. That is carried. Back to committee. Thank you.
Local MPI, Area 7. The MGU will reevaluate its non-political affiliation. Committee recommendation is one of acceptance. Proposed resolution doesn't change the union's current non-partisan status, but that the union review its position in this respect in the future.
So again, this is simply a review, so it's 50% plus 1. Moved and seconded by committee.
Yes.
Moved and seconded by committee. 1 of acceptance. I see a sister on microphone 3.
Kimberly Lindpost, Secondary Component Director, Area 3, Local 71. I stand against the committee's recommendation of acceptance. We are nonpartisan, and we have to stay nonpartisan. No matter what government's in charge, we have to be able to work with them to some degree. And if we let this door open and down the road we become partisan, we have a problem, and it's a problem we're going to have difficulty coming back from. We truly need to be nonpartisan.
Thank you, sister. I'm going to go to a pro mic now. Brother on microphone 1.
Thank you, sister. JP Lapointe, MPI Area 7. As you have already put together, this was our idea. So at MFL this year, we talked quite heavily about this. And I think that we need to start considering that although we would like to remain nonpartisan, governments in this province and elsewhere in Canada are not. And I'm going to continue to carry the log with me that I will become nonpartisan in my choice of government when governments stop involving themselves in my union job.
We have a sister on microphone 2.
Colleen Wilson, Local 220. I would just like to echo the remarks made by my sister regarding maintaining and having our nonpartisan approach to things. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. And we have a brother on, okay, no pros, another con on microphone 3, please.
James Alexander, Local 14 Corrections. I just have a quick point of clarification first. Is this not in direct opposition to what we just voted on literally before this?
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the word affiliation because it's a political affiliation. I think that is the word that is actually causing a little bit of concern, that we would then become partisan because of the affiliation to the politics.
So either way, wouldn't this lead to us becoming partisan on the view of the government? Like, just for clarity, isn't that true?
Brother Wayne would like to.
I hear what you're saying.
Absolutely.
I wondered that too. We currently voted to stay nonpartisan.
Yeah.
This would be taken to the board. If it's accepted, it would go to the board. They could review it, come up with the pros and cons, what they then do with it. They can't change the Constitution because we did just vote to stay nonpartisan. The only way that can change is to come back here. So they could look at the pros and cons by doing a review, and that's about as far as it would go. I will say that. So we could look at it, we could talk about it, we could have a discussion, the merits of both. If somebody then puts forward a motion based on that review for the future conventions, so be it. But it would not change what we currently just voted on.
Nonpartisan, yeah.
Okay.
Good? Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. No other speakers to the mics. So again, moved and seconded by committee. Recommendation of acceptance. Press 1 if you're in favor of the committee's recommendation. Press 2 if you're opposed. I believe that is carried. Just. That is, yeah. All right, yep, just carried. All right, back to committee. Thank you for that. It's carried.
Local MPI Area 7.
I have a question about that.
Speaker on microphone 3.
Hi, Kimberly Gray, Local 113, Area 6, Home Care. Question on that, I thought it was 51%, not
50% plus 1.
Oh, okay.
1 vote, so it was 155 to 151.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks for seeking the clarification, though. That's what this is about.
Okay, Local MPI Area 7, the MGU will amend the Constitution to allow the Constitution, Bylaw, and Structure Committee to make editing, numbering, and word changes to the Constitution or bylaws in a manner that does not change the intent of the clause. These changes must be submitted to the Board of Directors for acceptance by a 2/3 majority vote. Printing of the Constitution and bylaws will be consistent with the Policy and Procedures Manual. Committee's recommendation to accept as amended, and the note is the Policy and Procedures Manual currently can be changed by the Board of Directors by a simple majority vote, 50% plus 1, in which some changes may not require the consultation of the Constitution, Bylaw, and Structure Committee. The Policy and Procedures Manual will stay updated to stay consistent with the current practice of revising and printing the Constitution and bylaws once the following resolution changes from convention. Moved and seconded.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded by committee, and one to accept as amended, and this would be a constitutional change, so we're looking for 66% of the voters. So all those in vote, sister on microphone 3.
Kimberly Lynn, post-secondary component, Area 3, Local 71. I stand up and ask you to speak against or to vote against this resolution. We are a member-driven union, and that means a lot to us, and we must remain a member-driven union. Our Constitution is the foundation that our union is built upon, and it requires the membership votes to change it, amendment, and not a chosen few sitting on a board. We all in this room have a right to make sure. It's a slippery slope once we open this door as to what other changes may take place. Members, keep in mind, this is your Constitution. Make sure you have a say. Have it done here. Don't open that door.
Thank you, sister. We have a brother on microphone 1.
Thank you, sister. JP Lapointe, MPI Area 7. Speaking on my second motion, which I did not suspect would have any contention whatsoever. Actually, I do want to echo the words of my sister who just spoke. She's absolutely correct. Fortunately, the intent of this resolution is not what she just said. It's to look for the places where we forgot to cross a T or an I, very literally, and not have to bring those things to the convention floor. I know one of the things that we worry about is the 5 extra seconds we had for voting this morning. This resolution is intended to chop some of that administration out of our convention so we can do the real business of being angry about our constitutional structure and who we want to align with and things like that, rather than debating whether or not we need a comma in a sentence. Thank you.
Thank you for that, brother. Sister on microphone 4.
Hello. Good morning. Leanne Oakley, Local 415, EMS. I am here to speak with the acceptance of the amendment for the change. I would like to echo Brother Lapointe. What they're asking for is to make editing, numbering, and word changes to the Constitution and bylaws in a manner that does not change the intent of the clause. As someone who's been sitting here for the previous 3 conventions, I can say with certainty there was a lot of upset that we were unable to get to the resolutions that were put forward by our members asking for things because we had to spend time on all of this. I think that this specifically can be handled by the committee, and I would like to see that done. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Any further speakers to the mics? Seeing none, all those in favor of the committee's recommendation to accept, please press 1. Those opposed, please press 2. And again, constitutional change, 66%, 2/3 vote of the floor. That is carried. Thank you very much. Back to committee, please.
CR 16, Area Council 2. The MGU will add B16.4.3. If a standing committee seat is going to be temporarily vacant for a period of longer than 3 months, Area Council shall hold an election to temporarily fill the position until the return of the original elected member. Committee's recommendation is to accept. Moved and seconded.
Thank you, brother. It has been moved and seconded by committee to accept committee's recommendation to accept. Seeing no speakers to the mics, all those in favor of the committee's recommendation to accept, please press 1. Those opposed, please press 2. And that is carried. Back to committee. Thank you.
CR 17, WRHA Home Care Home Support. The MGU will make the necessary changes to the MGU policy and constitution and bylaws that any member holding a seat of table officer and/or higher need to step down in the interim if on extended leave greater than 3 months. The committee's recommendation is one of rejection. And note, for most elected positions, there are other elected positions who would take on and temporarily fulfill the duties of the elected position whose incumbent is absent for whatever reason. Representation continues to be provided by activists holding other elected positions within the union. And that's moved and seconded by committee.
Moved and seconded by committee. One of rejection. Sister on mic 3.
Hi, Kimberly Gray, Local 113, Area 6, Home Care. Okay, so my question or my concern is, I specifically put this one forth, and the reason I put it forth is no seat in this day and age should ever go empty. Yes, there is the rules that somebody should fill it in the absence, but it has been known not to because all of a sudden short notices constantly come up. And we just accepted CR 16 that just said for 3 months, but now we have no against 3 months. And I'm just thinking it's not good business. We are in, like my group is in home care, and that's a table that needs to be always filled, sat on. Nothing should ever be vacant. I don't know if it's making sense, and I don't know if I'm making sense for that. I apologize. It just, I just don't think it's fair. Thanks.
Thank you, sister, for sharing. Thank you. Seeing no further speakers to the mics, all those in favor of the committee's recommendation to reject, press 1. Those opposed, please press 2. That is carried. Back to committee.
CR 18, Interlake Eastern EMS Area 5. The MGU will allow members in elected positions to take a leave from their position and/or miss meetings for up to 6 months before they are required to resign. Committee's recommendation is to reject with the following note. For most elected positions, the exception being standing committee representatives, there are other elected positions who would take on and temporarily fulfill the duties of the elected position whose incumbent is absent for whatever reason. Representation continues to be provided by activists holding other elected positions within the union. Committee's recommendation was moved and seconded.
It has been moved and seconded by committee. Recommendation is one of rejection. Seeing no speakers to the mics, all those in favor of the committee's recommendation, please press 1. All those opposed, please press 2. That is carried. And now I think I'll be a little kind and I will step down the committee till after lunch. All right. And I would ask Janet to come up. We're going to be breaking for lunch shortly. A quick reminder that the Women's Forum and lunch is in room 2H. And I believe it's a jaunt going over the bridge and under the mountain and around the glen. And I think you'll find 2H in the other building. So with that, I pass it over to Janet.
Okay, so lunch is ready a little early, so we're all going to get a little extra time. Just want to remind you guys to pick up your T-shirts at the registration. I think at the registration desk. Where are they giving the T-shirts out? Okay, where she said. And please wear them tomorrow, you guys. And again, there's a picture photo booth out there, so encourage you over today and tomorrow to get your picture taken. And also when you come back after lunch to make sure you get your badges scanned when you come in. And our MGU staff, many of whom are in the back of the room right now, are going to be joining the delegates for lunch today. And so we're pleased to see that. And thanks. And lastly, we had several delegates who left their bags, like the MGU bags you got yesterday, in Convention Hall last night, and a few of them are missing this morning. So we have reported that to the Convention Centre to look in to see what happened. But another possibility is that maybe one delegate inadvertently took another person's bag. So could we ask you to double check to make sure you in fact have your bag and not somebody else's, because they are all identical. And if you did accidentally take somebody else's bag, if you will go to the registration desk, then they'll help you sort those details out. Okay? And with that, I will see you back here at 1 o'clock. Thank you very much.
They can start scanning at 12:30.
Icon?
So just to let folks know.
They will start scanning you back in at 12:30 though, so it's great if we don't all come at 1. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you, Michelle.